Everywhere you look in the Permian Basin, it's just an unbelievable amount of methane going into the air.
How does a warming planet impact Americans in their day-to-day lives? My colleagues and I went on a bus tour across the southern United States to find out. The Freedom to Breathe tour was an attempt to understand how climate change overlaps with the racial, social, and economic challenges that Americans face. Our goal was to see for ourselves how fossil fuel pollution and climate change are related, how they're damaging communities across the United States, and what solutions exist. In this episode of the Freedom to Breathe bus tour, we travel to Texas to see the ways that oil and gas production is affecting both local communities and the climate. The Permian Basin, which stretches across western Texas and southeastern New Mexico, is one of the largest oil production basins in the world. In recent decades, a new method of extracting fossil fuels called hydraulic fracturing or fracking has led to a drilling boom. It's meant a lot of money for some people, but the pollution from methane and other gases is also harming residents' health and damaging the environment. It's an invisible threat. When we went to Odessa, it was a beautiful sunny Saturday with clear, clean skies. I had broken my foot just a few days before, but even I was feeling good that day. Then Sharon Wilson, who is an organizer from Earthworks, handed me her infrared camera. The day didn't look so beautiful anymore.
In 2014, I was certified to use an optical gas imaging camera, and it images the invisible gases that are coming from facilities like this that we can't see. So if you look at these tanks and you see those pipes sticking up on top of the tanks, those are vents. So these facilities are designed to pollute.
Oil wells produce natural gas, which is mostly methane, as a byproduct. Oil producers in Texas usually either vent or burn off the gas because they say there aren't enough pipelines to transport it for use elsewhere. Methane is really bad for the climate. It's called a short-lived climate pollutant because it doesn't last very long in the atmosphere. But while it's there, it's more than 80 times as potent as carbon dioxide when it comes to warming the atmosphere. We hear in the news a lot about how cow farts are causing the methane problem, but a 2018 NASA study attributed the global spike in methane emissions to fossil fuel production. 2/3 of all new methane emissions are because of fossil fuels. In the first half of 2019, producers in the Permian Basin flared or vented more than 600 million cubic feet of natural gas every day. That's more than enough to supply all the houses in Texas. It's a staggering waste, and it's contributing to global warming. The local air pollution is also a threat to the health of residents and workers, because along with methane, the oil wells release toxic gases such as sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and benzene, which can have serious health impacts.
So some community members have headaches, ongoing headaches, chronic headaches, nosebleeds.
Priscilla Villa, another Earthworks organizer, has gotten to know many residents living near oil and gas sites, and she's noticed several common health issues.
A lot of upper respiratory issues, so like asthma, shortness of breath. And none of these things happen on their own. So it's not an individual health issue that someone faces. It's usually a combination of a lot of these things.
This was my first time visiting Texas, and as we crisscrossed the state, I was shocked to see the amount of oil and gas drilling sites there were. At every turn, I could see flares disrupting the natural landscape. In Karnes County, we met with Tom and Glenda Baker.
They hadn't shaved either. You can tell we're country people. Huh?
Yesterday.
They moved to the area because the quiet rural neighborhood seemed like a good place to retire. Now they find themselves living very close to an oil and gas facility. On the day we visited, the smell of gas was faint, but the Bakers said on some days the pungent smell is unbearable.
Occasionally you get an inkling of hydrogen sulfide gas, and it smells a little bit like rotten eggs. Most of the other smells more like fuel oils and cleaning solvents.
There are nearly 8,000 oil and gas sites in Karnes County, and with them come heavy truck traffic, more people, more construction activity, and more pollution.
When somebody decided that it was going to be worthwhile to directional drill and produce shale gas, this country just went wild. And if you take a satellite picture, There are little white dots all over it. They look like they're almost touching each other because there's well pads everywhere.
Before the fracking boom, Karnes was one of the poorest counties in Texas. Now, with the fracking industry, the residents are caught between the need for jobs and income and the health problems that come when you live next door to the fossil fuel industry. This is a dilemma we saw throughout the bus tour across the South. Some of the Texas residents we spoke to aren't calling for an end to drilling. They just want more air monitors, better enforcement of air quality rules, and harsher fines for pollution violations. They want companies to accept their role in polluting neighborhoods and use pollution control techniques that already exist.
I don't want them to shut down. I just like to know the company I'm associated with is doing the best they can to take care of the environment.
According to a United Nations climate report, many of the oil and gas assets in places like the Permian Basin need to be left in the ground to prevent warming the planet to dangerously high levels. So better accountability would be a good first step. But for the health of communities like Karnes County and also for the health of the planet, we need to move away from fossil fuels entirely and find other ways to create jobs and income for communities.